When Joey woke up the next morning, she could hear something tapping on her window. She got up and walked to the window, and to her surprise, she saw a giant, furry monster standing outside her bedroom. And at first she was horrified, but when she looked closer, she saw that it wasn't just any monster. It was the Yeti, and he was standing there smiling at her. She opened the window and said, "Yeti, is that you? What are you doing here?" The Yeti said,
"I just wanted to make sure you got home safe. When no one was looking, I jumped into the back of your airplane and flew all the way home in the luggage compartment. I jumped out at the airport and followed you home. It looks like you made it back okay, but now I'm not sure how to get back to my home."
And Joey said, "Well, come on inside, Yeti. You can stay in my room for now." So the Yeti crawled in through Joey's window, and Joey made a bed of blankets for him to sleep on. "Are you hungry, Yeti?" Joey asked.
"I sure am,"
said the Yeti. So Joey went and grabbed a box of cereal from their cupboard, and the Yeti ate all of it in one big gulp. "Well, I have to go to school now, Yeti." And Joey picked up her backpack, ran to her door, and looked back at the Yeti. And he was sitting there in the corner looking at the ground with a sad look on his face. "It'll be okay, don't worry. I'm not going to be gone for long." And out the door she went to school. Later that morning, as Joey was sitting at her desk, she heard something tapping on the window of her classroom. The teacher and all the other kids in the class turned their heads to look at the window, and they all started screaming. And when Joey saw what was staring at her through the window, she couldn't believe it. It was the Yeti. He had followed her all the way to school. Joey ran up to the window and said, "Yeti, what are you doing here?" The Yeti said,
"I just wanted to make sure you got to school all right. Are you okay?"
"Of course I'm okay, Yeti. Thanks for checking in on me, but you can't be here. My classmates have never seen a monster before. They're scared of you."
"But I'm a nice guy."
And then the Yeti made a silly face for all the kids to see, and the kids all started laughing. Once they saw that Joey was talking to the Yeti and he was being nice and funny, they realized there was nothing to be afraid of. And then one of Joey's classmates said, "Teacher, is it okay if Joey's pet monster comes inside?" And then all the other kids said, "Oh, yes, that's a great idea." And then Joey's teacher said, "Well, if he can stay quiet and listen nicely, I suppose it's all right with me." So they let the Yeti inside, and he sat down right next to Joey with his hands folded, and he didn't make a peep until recess. At recess time, they all ran outside and took turns getting piggyback rides and getting thrown up and down in the air by the Yeti. It was the most fun these kids had ever had at recess. And when they went back to sit down, the Yeti said,
"You go on inside, little girl. I'll wait outside under the slide until you're done with school."
And all the kids said, "Aww." But the teacher said, "It's probably for the best, kids. Besides, we have a lot of work to do." Soon after the kids got back to work, they heard a knock on the door. When the teacher went to answer the door, she saw two policemen. The police said, "Excuse us, ma'am, but there have been reports of a horrible monster running around the school. Have you seen anything like this?" The teacher and all the kids sat there with wide eyes, and just then, one of the officers looked out the window and saw the Yeti sitting patiently under the slide on the playground. And then the other policeman said, "Hey, there he is. I see him. Let's go get him." The men ran outside, and when the Yeti saw them coming, he quickly got up and ran away. And because he had such long legs, he outran them in no time, and they never had a chance to catch him. Joey was so relieved that her Yeti got away, And when she got home from school later that day, she saw him waiting for her in her bedroom. "Oh, there you are. I am so glad you didn't get caught at school today. Who am I kidding? This is no place for a Yeti to live." And Joey said to the Yeti, "I really love having you here, Yeti, but I just don't think I'll be able to keep you safe at my house. We need to find a way to get you back to your home on the mountain." And the Yeti said,
"You're probably right. But how do I get back there? It's so far away."
And just then, they heard a knock on Joey's front door. Joey's mom went to answer and saw the same two policemen from Joey's school earlier that day. "Excuse me, ma'am. We've heard reports of a monster living in this house. Mind if we take a look around?" Joey said, "You've got to run, Yeti. They're going to find you here." Both Joey and the Yeti ran outside and hid in their garage. And while they were hiding there, Joey saw her sled hanging up on the wall. It was the same sled she had used when she slid off the roof and landed on Mount Everest. And then she thought, if it worked for me, maybe it will work for him too. So Joey said, "Yeti, I think I know how you can escape. You need to take this sled and slide off of our roof. That's how I traveled to your mountain back when we first met, remember?"
"But isn't that dangerous?"
said the Yeti. "Well, it might be, but it's the only way I know of that will get you back home and away from these men who are trying to find you."
"Okay,"
said the Yeti.
"But when will I see you again?"
"I'm not sure, Yeti. This will take you far away from here, and it won't be easy for us to see each other again. But at least you'll be safe."
"I'm going to miss you, little girl."
"Oh, I know. I'm going to miss you too." Joey and the Yeti gave each other one last big hug, and then they heard the garage door open. It was the two policemen. "You have to go now, Yeti. Run!" The Yeti grabbed the sled and ran out of the garage and jumped onto the roof. The two policemen started chasing after him and climbing up to the rooftop. The Yeti set down the sled and sat right on it, and as soon as one of the policemen reached out to grab him, the Yeti was already sliding down the other side. And then the Yeti looked back at Joey and waved and shouted,
"So long, little girl."
And he slid off, and he fell, and he fell, and he fell. But he never landed on the ground. As soon as the policeman climbed to the top of the roof and looked over the other side, the Yeti was nowhere to be found. He had disappeared into thin air. But Joey knew exactly where he had gone. "I don't understand it," said one of the policemen. "He was right here, and now he's gone. Did you see where he went?" The other one said, "No, I don't see him anywhere. Don't worry, though. We'll find him." But of course, Joey knew that where the Yeti went, they would never find him. Joey was so relieved that the Yeti had escaped and that he was safe, but she sure was going to miss him. As she sadly walked back to her room, she was just about to start crying when she saw something laying on her bed. It was a picture colored in crayon of a giant smiling monster with a little smiling girl sitting on his shoulder. And the words at the bottom said,
"To Joey from Yeti,"
with a big heart around it. It made Joey's heart so happy to see the gift he had left for her. And even though it would be a long time until she saw her friend again, she would always have the special picture he drew and the best memories of the time they had together. Of course, there would come a time when they would meet again. But that's a story for another day.